right. Well, welcome everybody in today. This is our first of two webinars that we'll be hosting. This is going to be the first of the two. The first one is the fundamentals of Google Business Profiles. We're joined today by David, and I know you wanted to say something before we got started.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, good morning, one and all. I'm David Rotenicer. I'm the Executive Director with Montgomery County Regional Tourism, and I'd like to welcome everyone for taking time from your very busy schedules to join us today. We are excited, very excited to be partnering with Miles Partnership to help you, the businesses and attractions, to improve your online presence. This is just one of many opportunities to learn about how to do that. Enjoy today's presentation. I know you'll find it very informative. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David. Now, a little bit of housekeeping tips for everybody here today. First off, if you have a question, I would love it if you threw it out into the Q&A at any point during the webinar. I will take the questions at the end. However, I want these ideas fresh in your mind as we go through everything. And I don't want the questions at the end. You're like, oh, what was that one question again? Just put it in there. Feel free to do that. That's what the Q&A section is for. Again, my name is Henry Winkle. I am with Miles Partnership. And for anybody who does not know, Miles is a strategic marketing company focused exclusively on travel and tourism. We've worked with hundreds of destinations and hospitality businesses around the world to create forward-thinking content and marketing solutions. I'm trying to figure out, this bar is not going away up here. Bad timing. Anyways, so in my little department of Miles Partnership, we're called the Destination Optimization Team. The Destination Optimization at this time has worked with over 270 destinations who have participated in some form of our program. We have audited manually over 150,000 businesses and points of interest, and we have worked with over 8,000 business owners and managers who received in-person or virtual training. One of those options is office hours, which will get called out here in just a second. So office hours, what is that? Office hours is a time where you're able to meet with a member from Miles Partnership. This is a really great resource. It's a free 15-minute call where if you're having a problem with Google, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Bing, Apple Maps, you have an opportunity to meet with somebody from my team. More than likely, it's going to be myself who will meet with you. And this is a call, we'll just go over some information and even things like, hey, how is my presence looking? What do I need to work on? I'm happy to meet with you with those kinds of questions. So bring it my way. Lisa just put that into chat for me if you want to click that link. If you are curious, this QR code is going to be shown a few more times in today's presentation. And this QR code right here, for anybody who doesn't know, is taken directly out of Google. And I think it's a really cool way. So we can actually create these QR codes to ask for reviews. And if you want to know how to do that, find a time with me. So in today's webinar, we're going to be covering the fundamentals of our Google Business Profiles. The fundamentals are going to be going over why this is important for you and for your business. I also want to spend a little bit of time talking about how to claim your business on these key platforms, most importantly on Google. This is where we see a lot of difficulty with businesses, where they try to get these businesses verified and claimed, but sometimes Google doesn't make things easy. I also want to take a little bit of time to talk about what's new on Google. There's been a lot of changes in the past year or two that I want to spend some time talking about. For anybody who doesn't know or may still be trying to find those out, I can tell you more. I also want to spend some time on updating our critical business data. This is where we're really getting into the meat and potatoes of our profiles and learning about how to increase exposure and our consumer confidence. At the end, again, I do have time for some Q&A. Uh-oh. I have something in the chat saying I can't be heard. Lisa, David, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, Emma, thank you for letting me know. Shannon, sorry to hear that. And Pamela, I'm sorry about that too. I'm not sure. Huh. Well, if there's anything that you can't hear, I would say meet with me on office hours, and we can go over some of that information again. So, how are customers finding your business listings? Typically, your customers are finding it through one main avenue. Typically, we're thinking of our marketing funnel as this nice little neat linear marketing funnel where it goes from interest to booking in just that format. However, what we're finding is a kind of a different way that people are researching and finding businesses to make these bookings happen. Now, these are going to be found in our destination demand. This is where your marketing and advertising is seen. That's typically where a lot of people spend a lot of time. However, a huge part of this is through consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is where our consumers are going to feel good about visiting your business, making that phone call, stepping through your door into an actionable position. That's a lot of what today's webinar is going to be about, is increasing our consumer confidence. Now, the two meet in the middle there in order to get someone in your door and able to be there. So, excuse me, sorry, I'm having some weird technical difficulties right now. So, meeting your customer where they are. Your customers are going to be touching digital touch points across the internet in crazy different ways. So instead of that nice little neat linear marketing funnel, we're seeing something that looks a lot more like this. It's this crazy zigzag of touch points across the internet. Now, for you, you have control over several of these areas. Now, they can be found through your advertising, your social channels, your website, and a lot of that takes up pretty minimal amounts of these touch points. They're kind of hard to come across normally. But what ties everything together is going to be most prominently our search engines like Google, TripAdvisor, Yelp, even Facebook, Airbnb, YouTube, and Wikipedia are really powerful items we can use here. So Google itself reports local searches delivers over 4 billion direct connections for businesses every single month. Now, 4 billion seems like an astronomical number, but if you think about it, that's how many searches people have every single day, every month, excuse me, looking for a business or looking for more information. Now, if your business is going to be seen, how is it going to be seen? This is generally the very first thing a customer will see about you is your Google business profile. So what does it tell them? It tells them your name, a little bit of information about you, your hours of operation, some typical information, and most importantly, also for me, is photos and your category. That's going to tell them everything that they need to know. So when they do these searches, it's not typically going to be exactly for a business that they're looking for, unless they're already aware of you. More than likely, it's going to be in what's called a local pack or a 3-pack. You might have heard of this in different ways. The 3-pack is going to be the top 3 results for a search of a category. So for our example right here, we just said place to eat in Christiansburg, Virginia. So Google's going to give us 3 top results back. These are based off of several different items, which we'll get into. And your goal is to be in this top 3. That's what these webinars are about, because we want to gain as much attention to your profile as we can. Now, to get into these local packs, what we find is it's important to be kind of in the middle of all 3 of these: distance, relevance, and prominence. Distance is going to be where are you in relation to the search area. Typically, Google will drop a pin in the very middle of that search area and go outward. So when it goes out, how far away from there are you? This is a pretty important matter for Google, and typically the closer you are to that pin, the more likely you are to end up on a local pack. That being said, however, you are able to be found in searches like things saying near me, this category near me. That's just going to go out from that person's pin and go outward. So it's a lot easier to be found that way. Your relevance. Your relevance is going to be what is your search terms? What are they? A little bit of SEO, a little bit of your category, and a lot of that may be what you offer. If you've played with your products, your menu, things like that. Relevance is going to help customers find you for what you offer. Are you offering a specific type of food that they're looking for? That's a huge way that we can let customers know that we are providing what they're looking to do. Now, prominence is one we're going to be going over in our next webinar. Prominence is a really fun one to really take on. Well, we talk a lot about our photos, videos, things like that. We're not going to really dive too deep into that today's, but we will do that in next week's. It's one of my favorite ones to talk about because that's where we really get into our exposure increases. Now, our local pack ranking for 2023. This is done by a company called Bright Local. Bright Local is, they post these surveys talking about, the rankings on Google every year, and it's really great to watch. So we're going to kind of ignore these other lines down here. They're important, but if you want to see what they are, they're right down here. This line right here, our GBP signals. Those are the signals that your Google business profile is sending out to the internet and how likely you are to be found using that method. So just by having an up-to-date Google business profile, you are 32% more likely to end up in a local pack. Not only that, but you are also 2.7 times more likely to be considered reputable, 70% more likely to attract location visits, and 50% more likely to lead to a purchase just by having these profiles up to date. Something we should all be aware of is that the better your business profile is, the more exposure and the more engagement you're going to get out of it. The more you put in, the more you get out. If you set it and you leave it, you're not going to get a lot out of it in the future. But if we continue to make these changes and go through this, it's amazing to watch what happens. This bar is driving me crazy. All right. So let's get started with, ground zero. What needs to happen for you to have a Google business profile? The first things first is you typically need to claim your business. Now, I'm going to talk mostly about Google today. Google is going to be the biggest of all of these. It's where a majority of our searches will stem from. That being said, there are other platforms out there that are free to use. You're able to put a listing out there, which can help your SEO in an incredible way. Now, Google is the most important one. Everybody should have a Google business profile. Your business should be verified and present on Google. That being said, if you are a brick and mortar store and people are looking for directions to you, what does every single Apple user use? Apple Maps. Apple Maps is a huge tool for Apple users. It's used as a search engine by itself. People might be looking for a category and they're just looking to see what can be found near them. Apple Maps is a great way to do that. It's also the one that a majority of businesses do not utilize. And that's the biggest result in false information is through Apple Maps. Third is TripAdvisor. And then fourth is Bing. You might be saying, well, who the heck uses Bing? Typically, a lot of people. It's the default search engine for Microsoft products, which means that when you buy a new Microsoft product, the first thing that's going to be downloaded on it is Bing. That being said, the #1 search term on Bing is Google. Lastly, Yelp. Yelp is a great platform for reviews. It's typically, we see maybe some more negative reviews. However, it's still important enough just by having another digital touch point that it would probably negate that and pretty easily. Now, starting with Google, what are we going to look for and how do we know if our business is verified or unverified? Well, the only way we can be 100% sure that a business is not verified on Google is if we go to Google Maps and we go to the information and we see this little shield right here that says claim this business on Google Maps. If this is found on Google Maps, that means your business profile is not verified. This is where you need to go to in order to verify it. So your first step would be to click on Claim This Business. On Yelp, it's very clear when businesses are not verified. It has a very prominent unclaimed status right there. That's because they want people to know that this business hasn't verified this. This information is not 100% accurate, but it's there if anyone needs it. TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is a little bit different. It does not do a great job at promoting if a business has been verified or not, which means our consumers don't really know if they can trust this information. It could just be that down the road, a while back, someone suggested, hey, this business is here, here's their information, but it's 5 years old. Nobody's gone back to look at it to see if it's changed at all. So my recommendation to you, if you're not 100% sure, is to go to tripadvisor.com/owners. Find your business, start the process, see what you need to do. Typically, the verification is done through a phone call, same as most other verification methods, but they also have a form of credit card. This just is letting people know, hey, you got to put a little skin in the game. You don't have to use that one if you don't want to. They're not going to charge it. Apple Maps is the one that I would recommend everybody try today if you can, and see if this has been verified. If you know for a fact it's verified, that's great. But you go to businessconnect.apple.com. You do need to have an Apple ID. Oh, I'm getting a raised hand here. Kathy, if you have a question, make sure you put it into the Q&A or into chat. Sorry, I'm gonna keep on keeping on here because we only have so much time. And I will address your question at the end. So businessconnect.apple.com. It's verified through a phone call, or you can upload official documents. That means if you have a business license, an electric bill, something with your business name on it, you're able to do it that way. It takes a few days. A phone call is way easier, but sometimes that's not an option. So most importantly on Google, this is the one that's typically the most important, but also the most difficult. Again, like I said before, we're looking for Claim This Business on Google Maps. You click that icon and it's going to take us into a login cycle. So you're going to sign in to what account you want associated with that business. My recommendation for this one, by the way, is do not use a personal email address. This should be a generalized email address, an info at or a business at email, because you want this email to be able to be used across your company. If you leave the company or the person managing this leaves the company, you don't want that stuck under their personal email, because then it becomes a hassle to get this listing unverified and re-verified to a different one. So just starting this off, make sure it's through a general email, not a personal. So when you sign into that account, this is where we really want to click on Claim This Business. We're going to move on. From here, it's going to open the Business Management Center. This is saying that you can manage this business now. You click on that, and it's going to and this is where it starts the process. It might ask you for some information, maybe your up-to-date hours, or it's looking for maybe up-to-date categories, a business name, things like that. Generally, my recommendation there is to skip all of that and move directly to verification. The reason for that is if you make too many changes right then and there, it can instantly suspend your profile after verification because too many changes were made too quickly. That's a bit of a trick that Google does to make things a little bit harder. So my recommendation, just go straight to the end, verify it, wait a few days, and then change that information later. So right here, these are a couple of the ways that we are given to verify. These are probably the ones that we see a lot of nowadays. It used to be verification by mail. That was a postcard that was actually mailed to your business address. We still see that every once in a while. I've heard of that every once in a blue moon nowadays, but we don't see it very much anymore. The second option, which is probably the easiest, is through a phone number. Google will call a number, and it is a really great way. It will just call you, and it answers the phone. What you need to do to be ready for a phone call, though, is it cannot be a touch tone phone number, which, like, it can't go through a phone tree, is what I'm trying to say. So Google does not understand that businesses typically have phone trees. So Google doesn't know to press 0 or go to extension 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means whenever that phone answers, it says, hi, go to, select your extension. Google's going to rattle that number off to that extension and then hang up. That being said, if that number receives text messages, you can do that way. If this is your only form of verification, there is one other method that we can usually request Google to do. If not, you might be required to do this either way, but we'll see. So for a postcard, this takes up to 5 days to arrive. Google will not send a postcard to a PO box. So if your business operates out of a PO box, Google does not recognize that as a storefront, and they will not send it to that. If your mail is forwarded to a PO box, Google does not know any better at that point. That's good to go, but you have to have a physical address with a PIN. So this is the one that I think a lot of people are starting to see more of. This is a verification by video. Verification by video is typically a little bit on the tricky side. If you've done it before, you probably know what I'm talking about. Either it's pretty easy, okay, or it's pretty difficult. This is the one that I get the most calls about. Lately, in the last maybe year or so, Google has started this process where they are giving a majority of businesses the option to verify their business profile, but only by video. Now, what that means is we have to go through these steps and record a video on your phone of your business. Now, typically there's a couple steps involved, and starting with, start on the street in front of your business, get your road signs. They want to see the signage to your business. They want to see you unlock the door to the business. They want to watch you walk inside. They want to watch you go somewhere that customers are not allowed. And if they're still being difficult, Google really likes to see business cards. As weird as that is, they really like them. If you are a service area business and you operate out of a truck or a van, or you operate in an area where you don't have a physical presence in a building, then typically you can show maybe a car that has a logo on it, a business card, a business license, and then sometimes Google will take that. But typically it's a little bit more difficult. So at this point, if you are having any issues with verification or would like to learn more, I would say let's jump on an office hours call and we can go through some troubleshooting steps, or I can get you prepared for these methods. At this point right here, I would like to re-emphasize to not make any changes for 2 days after verifying a business. That is because Google will suspend your business, and you have to go through this whole process again. They will actually remove your entire business listing from Google, and there's been some bizarre instances of entire rest areas being removed, and museums, and these big, huge businesses that have a major audience, people searching for it, that Google just takes off because they made too many changes. That being said, wait about 2 days. It usually helps mitigate that process. So what's new on Google? In the past year or two, Google has rebranded. They went from Google My Business to Google Business Profile. What does that mean for you? Absolutely nothing. This is not a very important change, but I wanted to emphasize this because you might start seeing different verbiage behind it. So GMB is no more, and the Google Business Profile is now what they're operating with. In this time frame, the past year or two, you have probably seen this message. It used to be on the back end of Google My Business, and then it says we're moving to operating off of search. So the second you clicked on Manage on Search, it would take you and move you into your new management platform. The second you've done this, it probably has removed the access to you from the old Google My Business. That includes the app as well. The Google My Business app, if anybody is curious, was removed from the App Store. If it's downloaded on your phone, it redirects you. So our new form of management is great. I personally love it way better than Google My Business backend. It is a lot cleaner. You get to see your profile as you make changes, and it's all very nice and tidy. It's not hard to find things. It's overall just a great experience, and I really do enjoy it. If you are a Google My Business app user, or you were, the new form of mobile use, the mobile updates on your Google account is going to be through Google Maps, the app itself. If you download the app and you sign into that email that we mentioned earlier, that's associated with the account, you will be given your business profiles right here. When you click on the business that you want to manage, it looks a lot like this. So it looks a lot like our actual search engine, which is amazing. Edit profile. You can even run Google ads directly from here. You can interact with customers. This is a really great way, and this is what I see a majority of business owners use, is actually this method of making updates to their business or responding to reviews or just whatever they're looking to do. If you haven't yet, I would say download Google Maps, sign in, play with it a little bit, see what you like. And then this is a really good way to get notifications pretty quickly and respond to things like reviews, Q&A in a timely manner. As I mentioned before, the desktop profile manager, business.google.com, it still exists. It's there. You might run into it every once in a while, but typically it's only going to be seen by agency or multi-business accounts. Even then, this backend is not, it's not generally visible anymore. And if you click on one of these buttons, it redirects you to the search engine. All right. So next, we're going to move into updating our critical business data. This information is going to be typically what your customers are trying to find. This information is very important to keep up to date in a timely manner. Things like our core information are what's going to draw our customers in. It builds customer confidence. If you haven't updated your hours in 4 years, you might want to take a look at it and then just go ahead and verify, yes, those are my hours, and then you get a nice little badge. So how do we make these changes? First off, we're going to go to Edit Profile in our search engine. When you click on Edit Profile, it's going to open up our business information, starting with our business name, our categories, our description, attributes, location, hours, and a lot of other good information. So typically this is where we're going to start diving into our SEO for our Google business profiles. Your NAP, your NAPs, are very important. It's important that we keep your name, your address, and your phone number consistent across the internet. This is a critical ranking factor in your local SEO. And if there's even small differences, it is kind of damaging almost to your searchability. So keep it accurate, keep it consistent, and make sure it's up to date. Things like your phone number, make sure that's up to date and dialable. Every once in a while, just give it a try. You can update it pretty easily, but just make sure that it's going through and working. Your location. This is going to be the number one step in making sure that your consumers are having a good experience. Is your map pin in the right spot? There's a lot of instances of, hey, my address is this, and this is where I am, but the map pin is showing me way the heck over here. That is very common. It's easy to update, and I can show you how to do that right now. When we click into our address, we can actually click adjust. When you adjust this map pin will move to where you want it to go. For myself, I've used this for a business that I help manage. We run a wedding venue on the weekends, and one of the things that we've had a lot of issues with is people going to the wrong entrance. They pull into, this house's driveway, and it was a huge issue because people lived there and they don't want wedding guests driving into the driveway. What we were able to do is we were able to adjust this pin down the road just a little bit on the property to where the parking lot was. Now, this was really helpful for us because instead of people going into the guest driveway, they were going into our parking lot. You might have run into the situations like this where this is a problem. It's an easy change, typically not too regulated by Google, and just take a look at it, see where your map pin is, and if you need any help, let me know. So our hours of operation are the number one way that our consumers might find a lack of consumer confidence. Are our hours up to date? Can they be sure your hours are up to date? I've had some experiences with this in the past. I'm gonna, this is a restaurant that I was going to. It's a little place in Florida. I was just driving and it looked interesting and I wanted to pull over. It talks about, fish and steaks and exotic meats. And I was, it intrigued me, right? A pretty good rating on Google too. So I searched it. It was available. They were open and it was good to go. The reviews were just like, and it just kind of kept cementing in how weird and kind of interesting it was going to be. I mean, who wouldn't want to eat with a lion pouncing on their head? When I got there, though, I pulled into the parking lot and the lights were off and nobody was home. Everything was locked up, lights were off. And I've decided since then I'm probably never going to go back. Now, 44% of people in the United States have visited a closed location as a result of inaccurate business hours within the past year. 73% of them indicate that they are unlikely to return to that business if it's listed as open online but is closed upon arrival. So 73% of them are likely to never return to that business just because their consumer confidence was broken. Your hours of operation should be updated regularly. It's very prominent on Google and other platforms when your business hours are updated too. On Yelp, it gives us a very clear message. On Google, it will give it to you by, the hour of when it was updated. And on TripAdvisor, it will even tell us there our hours of operation. And usually it says it's updated around some time ago. So editing your hours is very straightforward. Go to Edit Profile, move into your Business Center, click on Hours. It gives you a day-by-day breakdown of your hours. So let's say for this week, we're going to be closed on Wednesday because we have to go somewhere. Well, pretty early on, not the day before, but early on, we want to go in there and say, we're going to be closed Wednesday. Now, some businesses have the option of scheduling their hours and changing them pretty easily. Not using this option, but this is the one that I've seen works the best. Go in there, schedule that you're closed Wednesday, and that's going to tell your customers that week prior that you're not going to be there. It usually takes a little bit of time for it to update, but when it does update, make sure you go back and change it back to your normal hours. Otherwise, you're going to be closed for Wednesday forever. We also have things called detailed hours. Detailed hours, you might notice, are pretty heavily skewed towards the food industry. That's not a bad thing for our food industry people out there. However, maybe some of this, it doesn't really quite work for you. Again, this is a really good spot for SEO. Things like happy hour, brunch, breakfast, drive-through, takeout. Those are really good things to have in there. If you have specified hours for those, I would put them in, and it's a good form of SEO of promoting maybe you have a happy hour or you have delivery options available. These are also able to be given a day-by-day hourly breakdown. So if you're only operating it in certain days of the week, you're more than able to do that. Google does send out reminders. You've probably gotten a phone call, emails in the past that says, hey, Easter's coming up. What are your hours? It's very important that you go and you verify your hours. If you're open, if you're closed, if it's changed. Holidays are the #1 time that we see consumers visit businesses with inaccurate hours. And we've probably seen this across Google ourselves, where it says these business hours might be affected by this holiday. If you get these emails, Make sure you respond to them, update your hours. It's pretty quick to do and pretty straightforward. Even if they're the same and they're not going to be any difference, make sure you just verify that they're going to be the same. When you do that, we get a green message saying it's been verified by the business. These hours are accurate. If you don't, this is the one I was talking about. Christmas Eve might affect these hours. It shows a warning. And if I see a warning on a business, that means to me, they're probably not going to be open. I'm not going to give it a try. I want it to be verified if I'm going to go out of my way to visit somewhere. So when that comes in, just make sure you update it. Overall, very straightforward and very easy to do. If you are looking for ways to make sure that this happens, you would need to set your notifications. If you want to learn how to do that, I would say jump on an office hours call with me, and I can walk you through it. It takes a couple steps, but it's nice when they're on. And we'll also be going over that in maximizing too. So we do have some tools for everybody here today, starting with our local tourism marketing academy. Joshua, I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand. If you have a question, just put it in the Q&A or the chat box. Something that everybody is able to utilize today is the local tourism marketing academy. This academy is provided for free by Montgomery County. It's an online resource of digital marketing intelligence for businesses to help maximize the digital readiness of your business for when visitors return. You have access to this through June of 2024. We update content very regularly to keep it moving. It's a great spot to look into. To get started, you're going to go to this link, which Lisa's going to put into the chat here, and use the access code Montgomery. There's a really great search option on here too. So if you're looking for things like social media, you want to learn more about social media marketing or SEO, this is just jam-packed full of good information. There's more than 60 articles, and we do update it pretty regularly as well. When you're done with a course, it's really good that you mark it as complete. That when you do this, it's going to track your how many that you've read. The more you mark as complete, the more you track, the farther you are on a path of learning from being a newbie to up here, it goes all the way to the Grand Master. If you have a question about the content in the Marketing Academy, you are able to send us questions. You just need to put your name, your business name, your location, your contact email, and your actual question. Let us know what it's going to be, what maybe you want to learn more about, and we will get back to you on an answer with that, and more than likely redirect you to office hours so we can meet with you one-on-one. Now, this is a really cool tool. This is one that I utilize a lot for businesses that I help manage. This is the Google Business Profile Checkup tool. This is another free tool that is going to be provided to everybody here today. The link should be in chat if you want to take a look at that as well. Now, this tool gives a self-assessment and recommendations report on your Google business profile. Things like profile completeness, profile performance, and a customer sentiment analysis. This is information that cannot really be found elsewhere in an easy to find manner. It does require that it does connect to your Google business profile. So it's going to say, hey, do you want this tool to connect to your page? In order to get this information, we do have to pull it from your performance data. So if you want to see this, just make sure you click yes. I'm going to go ahead and call out office hours one more time. If you are looking to get some help, or if there's a question that you think might need a little bit more time, this is your opportunity to scan this QR code right here, my little friendly dinosaur. You will more than likely meet with me myself. The hours are going to be starting next week for these office hours. So if you are looking to schedule that call, schedule it this week, and I can meet with you next week. So on these calls, we do schedule some time for Q&A. So if you have any questions or you want me to dive into something a little bit more, this is our time to do that. So if you have a question, feel free to pop it into Q&A, and I will take my time and go through it and try to give you as good of an answer as I can. Yes, it is possible to get a recording to this. This is being recorded, and I believe, David, are you going to be sending that recording out to the attendees, or we will?
Yes, we will send that out to everyone. Also, one note, the after hours, office hours are only available to residents of Christiansburg, Blacksburg, and Montgomery County, unfortunately. We have folks from the surrounding region participating.
Okay. So yes, the services are only available to folks in Blacksburg, Christiansburg, and Montgomery County. I also wanted to call out too that we are scheduling a time in the area for a in-market workshop for anybody who's looking to spend a little bit more time going over these details and going through some really good points. We are, I think, in the process of finding a date for that still, but that is upcoming, and we'll be sending out more information about that here soon. I also want to call out our second of these two webinars, our maximizing webinar. That will be next week. If you are wanting to spend some more time with this and look into it, I'd highly recommend maximizing, because it is where we get into our exposure. We dive into more SEO. We'll dive into how we can get more out of our Google business profiles organically for free. You don't have to spend anything. We'll spend a lot of time on talking about photography, categories, how to utilize that, little tips and tricks. Maximizing is a really great webinar, and I'd recommend you go to that. This is a really good question. I think everybody can see my screen in my Q&A right now, so excuse me. Some weird technical stuff going on today. What if an address is incorrect on Google Maps? A new road is not showing up. Therefore, when you add your address to your listing, it isn't reflected correctly on the map. This is a really good question, and one that I would highly recommend actually that you meet with me for if you're able to, if you're in those regions. But I'll go through the steps. Firstly, what you're going to do is you're going to go into Google, and you can suggest an edit to to Google Maps itself. You can suggest that a road exists here, and you will actually be able to draw a line on that road, and not on the map where that road is. You give it a road name. You have this power. This is something that you can do. It usually takes a few weeks to happen, but we've seen a lot of success for this. This also works for maybe if you have a private road that people are driving on because Google tells them to. You can say, this is a private road. Nobody's allowed on this road. But adding a road is pretty straightforward. I'd be more than happy, if you're in those regions, to meet with you to talk about that. And I'm sorry for anybody who is having issues. Again, I apologize with the audio. I know that people were saying that it's not coming through well. But this is going to be recorded and sent out, and hopefully the audio is a lot better on that one.
Henry, we have another question.
Awesome. This is another cool question, actually. Do you happen to know what Google Maps feeds to? We created the address on Google, but it is not reflective in Facebook. So Facebook, you have to update by itself. If you have an address appearing on Facebook, you would go into Facebook, into that management center, and then you go into your details, and you would update that from there. Facebook is very common, I would say, as well, for having mapping issues. And it does technically tie to Google in some small ways. Google does use it also as a reference for a lot of information. However, I would say go into Facebook, go there, and then try to update it. Facebook's usually pretty good about it, I would say. I've done these edits a few times, and I would say a majority of time it's a success. But when you update it on Google, it's not going to update it on Facebook. The only platform that updates when you update Google is Bing.com. Bing and Google are integrated if you choose to let them be, where when you update your Google business profile, it'll also update on Bing's search engines as well. A really good, really easy thing to do as well. Glad to hear it. Thank you. Well, everybody, we have about 10 more minutes. So if you have any more questions, put them into chat now or into the Q&A. We have some time to talk about them. If not, I'm going to go ahead and close things up a little bit early. And if you don't have a question, I wanted to thank everybody for being here today and taking time out of your day to learn a little bit more about these platforms and how to get the most out of them.